Thank you very much for inviting me today to be part of this event and this panel. I'm really proud of being here today. I have enjoyed a lot the whole event and also the input from the other two panelists. So thank you very much. So the presentation that I bring today, or the intervention, focused on the digital transformation enabled by data and AI. It brings a very different perspective to the previous two panelists. This is more an ecosystem perspective, more than a research-oriented perspective. It will show how the industry-driven research community interacts with the European policies, and will show the strategic frameworks that this European community defines to guide mainly research and innovation policies, but also interacting with the regulation. And on the way, we will also show, because the community is very technology oriented, but we are lucky to have a multidisciplinary kind of community. So we have also experts in law, in business, in regulation, in societal aspects. So I will show on the way how these aspects are connected to technology, how they are integrated in the frameworks, and somehow how we really want to drive that these aspects are eventually coded or embedded in technology by design. Now I will start by introducing first what this is Big Data Value Association. I think it's important first because I'm already giving you some insights, but also because otherwise it's difficult to understand what this is coming from. So first, we are an industry-driven research and innovation community. We have more than 230 members all over Europe, many large companies, SMEs. I will show you in a moment the logos very quickly, so you get an indication. And we have a lot of also research institutions, academia, and industry associations, and some public players. We focus as organization on this digital transformation of economy and society through data and artificial intelligence. So these two disciplines are very important for us. And we try to advance in areas that include big data and artificial intelligence technologies and services, data platforms, data spaces, how to extract value out of data, industrial AI, and also data-driven business models, standardization, and skills. As I said before, we are industry-driven, so that probably will give you also, it's important for you to know, it's pre-competitive, it's research and innovation, but it has a strong focus in competitiveness of European industries. We are better known because of our participation in partnerships. So we were actually a result of European policies in Horizon 2020, and we were driving the big data partnership, and I will talk a bit about that. Also, we are one of the driving forces and founding member of a new partnership on AI, data, and robotics. And also, I will show a bit the strategic and implementation frameworks for this partnership, and how they integrate also aspects of trust, ethics, and legal aspects. Everything very high level compared with my previous speakers. And also, we are a private member of another partnership, the RIOE2021 joint undertaking. That one is more technology oriented, very technology oriented, but definitely a very necessary enabler for to extract societal and value from these technologies. We are also, as we see on the top, very much focused on implementing the European data strategy, also in providing feedback to it. But we have a strong focus. We collaborate very strongly on different aspects of it. Also to the AI strategy, and I will show as part of my intervention also aspects that the community is working with, and of course the whole Data Act, AI Act, and our feedback to it is a major topic at the moment, and aspects of digital transformation in general. Here you can see a bit in words what I explained before, but maybe emphasizing other aspects that, this aspect of industrial trustworthy AI is currently a very strong focus. Also, I will show more towards the end of my intervention how we focus on instruments to support mainly small and medium enterprises. And for that, we are setting up a very large federation of data-driven digital innovation hubs, also very related to the topic of data for AI. It has been very good in the previous interventions. You have been talking about cross-sectorial versus different sectorial aspects. You will see in the way how we are organized that this is definitely relevant. It's relevant from the technical perspective, but actually why we need to organize ourselves in verticals is related very much on how the different verticals, I mean, they have different ecosystems, different value chains, different business kind of ecosystems, but also aspects of regulation and law are very specific. So we really need to look at those verticals. And also I will show you the importance of having this holistic perspective at the technological level, but not only, also multidisciplinary. Reason why, from our perspective, we are very focused in building bridges with all kinds of communities. Here, just for you, I will go through 5 slides very quickly, so you get an indication of geographically how the community is distributed in intensity in different countries. In Europe, it's a European community, by the way, and very quickly you see logos from industry, from research, more logos from industry, more logos from research. And for that, you get an impression of the community. It's a community of legal entities, but behind there are people. There are many researchers, as many of the people in the call today, and researchers from academia, RTOs, but also companies and also SMEs as part of those companies. So just also to finalize this introduction in the context, how we are organized as a community. Why is this important? I think it's very important for the topic. So to emphasize these verticals, so you see here the blue aspect. So we organize the community in cross-sectorial and sectorial. And the sectorial and cross-sectorial working groups, we call them task forces, but they are really more in the flavor of working groups, because they are quite long-lasting activities, but we call them also task forces because they pop up and also disappear as they are needed, but they have really quite a long-lasting kind of perspective. So we have these organizations more focused in these sectorial aspects. Also, you will see in the different partnerships there are also projects that are more implemented at sectorial level, but also we play with a lot of cross-sectorial activities. The community is very technical, so it's mainly engineers and researchers in the technical aspects in data and AI, but you see that we cover other aspects. As I said, we are very lucky. We have a working group with a lot of experts bringing aspects of policy, regulation, and we include experts in law and also in societal aspects, and brings all these aspects that the previous speakers brought up very nicely, and with a lot of in-depth inputs. And also, I want to emphasize the aspect of skills is very important for us. We also believe, you will see later, that links a lot the technological aspects to the societal aspects and also business. I want to, on the top, you see how very in this, and this will be also part of the last slides, that we have very strong focus at the moment. We call data sharing spaces and industrial AI, and these are activities that really get input from all these other working groups, actually to help more with defining specific frameworks for adoption, still coming from research and innovation, but supporting industry in their adoption. And here just some snapshots of many of the different papers that the community generate, and it's very impressive to see how industry and academia and research in general collaborate together to bring these papers that actually are very useful to guide not only policymakers, but actually our industry in defining this research and their research and innovation roadmaps. We also define or release a lot of strategic research and innovation agendas that are the main guidance for the European Commission. They really help, or they serve for inspiration to the European Commission. Now going very quickly through the partnerships, because we have very limited time. As I said, we have been involved in the big data. Still there are projects running until 2020, but I want to show you the framework that was created for this big data. So you see also how the legal and societal aspects are integrated. and then we cover mainly the framework of the data and robotics part. I will go very quickly through the Euro HPC because it's maybe a bit out of scope. Then we'll cover very quickly how the activities that we define as community, that then they are implemented they were implemented in Horizon 2020, in which areas of Horizon Europe, and then also the Digital Europe program, and even the other programs, how they are implemented. This is just, I think this is the important part to focus from the past, still being implemented towards 2020, is how the whole partnership of the big data was defined. This was defined by the community. It's very important to highlight that, again, there are many researchers like the people now in the call involved and working hand to hand with the industry to define these strategic agendas. You see here all the dimensions. I mean, the document on the right is a 120 or 150 pages document, going quite a lot into details on what are the areas, what are the roadmaps and the areas, technological and non-technological. But in this map here, I want to emphasize again how much importance we gave for it in 2014, when the first strategic agenda was defined, to the legal aspects, to skills, to societal aspects, and to application aspects. Again, difficult to go into details, and this is already implemented. We are now going to the latest stages of the implementation on this. And here, this is a slide that doesn't have any value because it has no value. It has a lot of value, meaning every single word is a project. And each of these projects, it has a lot of investments. There are projects in this list up to 15 million euros. And some of you might be involved in these projects. And each of these projects brings so much value. And many of them have actually brought a lot of aspects related to the topics of today, bringing together technology with legal and societal aspects. We have many reports that actually give details into how the program has delivered, not only in technology, but also in societal and business aspects. But I just want to emphasize that this is the result of that. Now we move very quickly into the new partnerships. So it's all very new because they were, in particular, the co-program partnerships were actually released in June or announced in June. The 11 co-program partnerships announcing investments of 22 billion in this framework program. And in particular, I focus on one of them, that the European Partnership on AI Data and Robotics, actually announced very recently with an investment from the European Commission of 1.3 billion euros in Horizon Europe, only with similar investments from industry. And that partnership has been launched, as I said, very recently, and it brings together 5 communities with a new association that has been created. One of the communities is us, and then we have 3 AI communities, Claire, Ellis, and EuroAI, and Eurobotics. Important for this presentation, and I will focus on this, is the strategic research, innovation, and deployment agenda. And this is work that has been developed for 3 years, defines a framework, and also defines as part of this framework. I will give details on this framework in a moment, so don't worry. But not details, because everything will be quite high level in my presentation. It also has defined investment areas. Again, these strategic research, innovation, and deployment agendas are kind of needs of the partnership. So this is a need of the community, it's a requirement to define, and they serve to guide all the investments from Commission, and then they help really to guide the whole implementation of the activities. So here I want to emphasize the 5 aspects of how this partnership will be implemented. And of course, you see, we cover aspects of ecosystem, bringing the communities together, which is very important. And this is about the different disciplines, but actually about bringing multidisciplinarity and bringing different national and European communities in place. I want to emphasize what is important. I mean, everything is important for the discussion today, but maybe to emphasize the aspects of skills and acceptance, where you see where we actually, there is focus, of course, in this creating this career path. And here we see all these new professions, and also how, for instance, the role of the engineers, so the not the role, but actually the profile of the engineers is changing, not because they need to really cope with many technologies from a holistic perspective, but also because they will have to integrate a lot of non-technical aspects, in particular key for data and AI, like its legal aspects, aspects of ethics, different ones from law, compliance, and aspects that will be really need to be coded in and designed in the technology. But also we are very much interested not only in these new professions and how we really support this, but also in how we engage citizens by bringing because the acceptance of the citizens is important. So there is an aspect important there. Of course, we focus a lot on innovation and market enablers, but I want to jump into the investment area 4 that really is about the engagement of regulators, how to promote also regulatory sandboxes, how to really link research and innovation with regulation and make sure that there is a good dialogue in between with policymakers from research and innovation. And of course, we have also this promoting always research and excellence and making sure that excellent researchers, like many in the call today already, for what I heard, really are connected to this, to our companies. And also I have to say, not only companies need to transform themselves, but the transformation of public institutions. So this is very important. I will go to some, I have three slides explaining a bit this framework. This framework is explained with a lot of details in this strategic research, innovation and deployment agenda that you can find on the website of the partnership, but also on the websites of any of the founding members. And here you see, I emphasize first this overall framework. It brings really this is built under this legal and societal fabric, and this has been the main central point of the whole discussion for a couple of years or 3. So there is aspects of fundamental right principles and values, and how products and services based on AI, data and robotics must be based on values that are compatible with European rights principles and values. We also focus on this value-driven AI, data and robotics for business, society and people. So, now we mix value and values, but we really had a lot of discussions of, okay, let's create technology that can generate value and the paths for that technology to create value. And of course, the policy regulation, certification and standards, as I showed before, we have a strong groups working in these aspects as well, bringing experts like you to collaborate together on this. Then another important part is essential ingredients for us is this innovation enablers. And here is where we put very strongly the aspects of skills and knowledge that I already highlighted before. So I don't repeat aspects very important for in research, in building new professionals and also for society. We have a strong focus in our community in this topic of data for AI, and I will go into more aspects of it later on. So I don't go more in details here. And then very important for us is experimentation and deployment. And we focus a lot on experimentation instruments, and I will give some example towards the end. Finally, of course, we have these fundamental building blocks in, let's say, these technology enablers that we have organized to guide this collaboration between different disciplines, in this case, AI, data and robotics. So we have found, this kind of building blocks that help us to establish dialogue in between these different disciplines. And these 5 different building blocks that go again to have a lot of elaboration in the agenda, helps to establish this dialogue in between disciplines. And here we talk about the sensing and perception, the knowledge and learning, reasoning and decision making, actions and interactions, and everything that has to be moved with the engineering aspects of systems, methodologies, hardware and tools. And again, all these aspects integrate previous aspects I mentioned before. I'm not going to touch on the RIOE2021, just to say that also we are very much part of it. Also, the new RIOE2021 has been launched just last week. We've been collaborating and being a private member of this partnership already for 2 years, but the partnership launched a new regulation just last week. We will continue being a private member of it. And I think the important part is also the value that and the importance of this partnership, really to make sure that we bring this value that data and AI can bring to solve societal challenges will require a lot of computing capability, but also a lot of skills and having also communities joining forces to make this happen. So I won't elaborate on here, and very quickly just to map, okay, all these that you mentioned. So all these community efforts, these strategic research and innovation agendas, how are they mapped? So they are mapped then in calls, in proposals. So we collaborate hand to hand with the European Commission, and then many of them go to mainly to cluster 4. Actually, in parallel now, while we are speaking, we are having an info day on some of the calls of the partnership on AI data and robotics together with the European Commission, but also many of the things go to other parts under Pillar 2, in particular when we go to the sectorials. And also if we go, this is more deployment, so goes beyond research and innovation, but we are involved in this Digital Europe program. And mainly, if we look, these are the slides from the European Commission, our community focusing aspects of digital innovation hubs, high performance computing, artificial intelligence. I show another slide with the details, and also and everything that has to be with advanced digital skills. And if we go more into Digital Europe program in the artificial intelligence, data and cloud, here we have a strong focus in these data spaces. So things that you saw before map into these data spaces, also in the testing and experimentation facilities and other horizontal actions as well. And now just my last minutes, I will dedicate to 4 topics in our perspective. Again, I don't have time to go into details, but just to give you an example of what are the specific frameworks beyond the strategic research and innovation agendas that are defined. So probably you have seen also what the Commission has released in relation to the digital compacts and the different indicators to guide investments and to guide actions towards the future. Here we are mainly, because the uptake is very important for us, even when we are a research and innovation community. And here we focus mainly on this big data and AI uptake. I have just a couple of minutes. I know I'm going a bit out of time. So just very, very high level aspects here. And for everything, you have documents in our website, you can go and see. So our community has defined for a future a framework of what we call the data sharing value wheel. And here defines what are the different pillars. And you will see that we talk about key stakeholders and the call for action with the roadmap. But let me just to emphasize here that when we talk about the data spaces, first we put trust in the center. This is a key topic. And then that we don't focus only on the technology. The technology is very important. We are dedicating a lot of efforts to more than the technology as well, but the whole frameworks for interoperability, standardization, etc. But we also focus, in particular, the focus on the data. Not only the data sharing by design, but very aspects of data quality and many aspects of data. Governance, we are dedicating a lot of aspects to the governance of data spaces, the governance of data, and the governance that will have to change internally in organizations to implement all these technologies. And of course, there is a strong focus on people and organizations, the organizational change and the challenge for organizations, public and private, to implement all this. I don't have the time, but also you see that we really call for a multi-stakeholder collaboration to implement all this. And definitely the call for action calls for different, I cannot go again, it's time for a larger presentation. There is a call for action for all these stakeholders, starting for convergence, that's what we are working at the moment, for many other actions where we are discussing with other communities and the European Commission. Also, I have no time, but we are working in frameworks to implement trustworthy AIs. This actually, we are working with national initiatives, and we are merging aspects of the strategic research and the framework that I presented before with other frameworks that are being defined by national initiatives, mainly triggered by also standardization national bodies. And these are frameworks that really are meant more for companies. And again, I cannot explain all this today, but give you an example of a framework that we have defined is now under consultation. We are defining or building a paper. There is a paper now already under consultation, but in BTBA we are evolving this paper to support, let's say, to have common frameworks at the European level and make sure that when companies evolve in implementing this AI legislation and in particular the conformity assessment, that we have common frameworks to use, so companies really can, to also help them to scale at the European level and collaborate at the European level. Again, each of these slides is really can give time for a 20 minutes, 1 hour presentation. 2 more slides and I finish. Also, as I said, we are very much focused in building collaborations, and every community in Europe is doing so because of this holistic approach that is needed. So that's another message that I need to give. And finally, as an example, and also as a fourth point in how we are examples of how we are really supporting to this digital transformation through our members, and in particular to a specific digital innovation hubs that we call iSpaces. We are building a real federation through European project called UHAS for Data. Now you can see a list of organizations joining forces to build this federation. Many more are joining forces, and really this is to link the local to the European level and to help mainly our SMEs and also other players at local level in entering this ecosystem. And with this, I've finished my intervention. Thank you very much. I know I went a bit over time, but I hope it was useful. And again, it was a completely different perspective to the previous 2 speakers, but in that way you can see how the ecosystem is actually integrating these aspects of law and societal aspects into technology. Thank you very much.